I'm just going to be totally honest with you. I will never be able to convince you of my worldview.
You won't.
I know. But the reason is not because I'm not a great orator or I don't make good points or I haven't said things which should be compelling to a person. But Charlie, I just think honestly you're too fucking stupid to understand them.
So Andrew, can I sell you on my worldview?
Yes.
Your wife has 3 baby daddies and has been married twice before.
And you you lick sniz.
Under your religion.
You lick sniz.
What is that?
You're a fucking dyke. Don't talk shit about my wife, you stupid bitch. Shut your fucking mouth. Shut your stupid bitch mouth.
Your wife with the 3 baby
What did I just say? Dyke?
Your wife with the 3
Sorry,
baby
I'm sorry,
daddies?
Dyke. Is she morally inconsequential in comparison to your ditch licking?
We need to talk about why it matters who you are in this story. So let's talk about how men keep getting it wrong and how the patriarchy trains them to consistently get it wrong so it can consistently keep them in line.
Every time a guy writes a song, he's a cowboy, a sailor.
Public service announcement. If you're gonna pass a single guy on a trail and you're a girl and he says hi, maybe say hi back and not just give me an awkward.
Playing with the world in his palm like the first violin.
Rape girls.
Some of us, yeah, some of us.
Do you know how many times you've done that? How many times have you raped girls?
I did it maybe 2 or 3 times.
I did it once. I did it 4 times.
Did it once.
Yeah, because a lot of times I was with him. Yeah, he's a friend, you know. I'm with him all the time.
Every time he opens his mouth, it's a loud movie trailer. With every image and sound he thinks proves he was here.
What about the consequences of what you're doing in terms of how that affects the
Exactly.
person that's raped?
Yeah, the consequences, we look at that all the time, you know, because it happens, she might scream, you know, people might wake up. A lot of people,
I'm not
especially.
just talking about, I'm talking about the emotional effect, the physical effect it has on the
Yeah,
girl.
sometimes we know that we might rape her and wake up tomorrow with viruses ourselves, like HIV, you know.
What about regretting what you've done to the girl?
I also do regret about it because if she fell pregnant, what will be that baby's father? Who will be that baby's father?
And what about her personal feelings?
The silence is deafening. Now you might say to yourself, what does this have to do with Andrew Wilson and why did you start off this video showing him?
The destruction of the marriage is it has put women in the most vulnerable position where now they leave their home with their husband where the abuse rates are not nearly so high as pretentious feminists pretend they are.
I wanted to prove to you that my worldview allows you to live the life that you are living.
So does mine.
No, the fuck it doesn't.
Tell me how tell me why it doesn't.
What Christian nationalist, the average Christian, hates divorce. They would say to your wife, stay with that abusive, horrible man.
You're wrong.
You married him. That's your husband.
You're totally wrong, and I debate the issue all the time. The abuse rates are not nearly so high as pretentious feminists pretend they are.
So pay attention here, right? He's trying to imply that the abuse rates aren't as high, therefore the amount of divorces that are happening are unwarranted. In Oklahoma last year, there was a bill proposed by Republicans, of course, to try to keep families a 2-parent husband and wife household.
Nearly 1 in every 100 marriages ends in divorce.
Marriage, I think, has been degraded. And it's one of the very few legal contracts that I'm aware of that you can actually break at any time for any reason.
Which is why Republican Senator Dusty Devers is filing 2 bills.
The Covenant Marriage Act allows people to opt into a marriage that is more along the lines of what marriage is supposed to be, which is till death do us part.
The Covenant Marriage Act would require couples sign a declaration of intent upon marriage. It also makes it harder to get a divorce. Any struggle during the marriage would require counseling. The only way a divorce would be granted is if a spouse can prove one of the following things occurred: abandonment of at least a year, abuse, or adultery.
And of course, they use money to incentivize keeping the marriages together.
The bill also includes an incentive, $500 for each child under 18 living in the home of a mother and father while they are still married, and $1,000 for each child under 18 living in the home of a mother and father who said "I do" before having children.
They claim it's for the safety of children, but obviously it's about something I think more insidious.
Then there is the Protect Child Thriving Act. Devers says the goal is to keep a 2-parent household intact for the child's sake.
Where there is a marriage that's intact and a mother and a father in the home, the children thrive in their mental health, their emotional health, their physical health.
Whether you believe in patriarchal gods or not, at the end of the day, there's 2 kinds of people on the planet right now. Those who literally believe in gods and those who don't.
Ask him, Jesus, fill me.
Even with modern Christians trying to advocate for LGBTQI people and women, I just am not a fan of patriarchal religions.
Opponents of the bill, like Reverend Shannon Fleck, who holds a doctorate in ministry, believe this is an example of the state overstepping its bounds.
Couples make choices in their relationship. They journey through life together, and life is hard. And the choices we make with our partner, our spouse, our family, our siblings, our friends are ours to make.
Because ultimately, if we want to deconstruct and dismantle the patriarchy, it has to be in every possible way that it exists. But Andrew Wilson would have loved this Oklahoma bill. He would have loved, as a Christian nationalist, any excuse to push his agenda on people by force. And ultimately, that's the point with the Andrew Wilsons, is that at the end of the day, no matter if you're an Andrew Wilson or a Jeffrey Epstein, it is about denying people consent to get your way.
Okay, which part am I lying about?
I think that you pretend to be a traditional Christian man, but what I
I've
see you
never
doing is
said
spreading
once
hate.
that I'm a traditionalist.
It goes without saying that Andrew Wilson is on that spectrum of abusive and toxic men who think women are less than them. And on his spectrum of who he is in the story, and this is really the case I'm trying to build here, is on a spectrum of evil men and their philosophical evil, meaning far from their philosophical joy. So he's more in his judgmental than in his discernment. On a spectrum of Andrew to Trump to Epstein, so Andrew is like the best of the worst. As far as I know, he's never been convicted or found liable for sexual assault or sexual misconduct, unlike President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. And I understand that Andrew would probably never think that the way he mistreats women on stream or in these debates is considered toxic or abusive.
Chuck, have you ever had an abortion?
No.
Never? Would you?
Yeah.
So you'd kill your own kids? Why am I going to take moral advice from you?
But I cannot imagine that in any reasonable, sane, and just world, this is how people would be talking to each other outside of a debate space.
Let me ask you, what do you gain from coming on here and calling me a skank? Do you gain anything?
So what happens is, what you have to do, unfortunately, in the modern society that you're dealing with, where there's tons of decay, is when somebody hits you, you have to hit them back harder. That's the way it generally seems to work, unfortunately. Now, if you had behaved yourself, been a good girl, I wouldn't have had
Don't
to
call me
have,
that.
you know,
Do
what
not
I
call
called
me
you.
that.
Instead, you had to mouth off and be a bitch, so I just kind of talked to you like I talked to you. Yeah.
Sir, I'm going to tell you something. You're coming from a place of great insecurity. I work for men that are probably the same age, probably even younger than you, and I've never had them call me a dumb skank.
I know, but
They
the
treat me
problem
with
is
respect.
that's my whole problem.
They treat me with
see?
respect, and I've never
It's
come.
societal
Let
stigma.
me finish.
If
I've never
societal
once.
stigma existed,
You
then women
feel-
would
you
have much
felt-
better behavioral patterns in society.
And then, of course, that brings into question, why are we all going to work in this debate space where we're demeaning one another? And yes, I do think the women who go on these panels and on whatever podcasts should be heavily criticized, including Charlie herself. And I do promise you, I will eventually tackle this topic because I do believe the women who go on these podcasts and even the men who quote mean well are actually making it worse for everybody.
What's the fucking problem with that?
I don't think there's a problem with it when you get a lot older, but I do think like men of your age dating women who are like in their late teens, even if it's legal, is weird.
Why is it weird? That's quite the argument.
Are you?
Oh,
wait,
it's
hold
weird.
On, hold on.
Weird.
Are you arguing that there is nothing problematic whatsoever at all with, how old are you, like 50?
Well, no, I'm younger than you, probably. How old are you?
I'm 21. 22, sorry.
Oh, okay. That accounts for the stupidity. No. I'm 41.
Nice.
41.
41. Do you think nothing wrong with you if you wanted to go by UC Santa Barbara right now and, you know?
What would be wrong with me dating an 18-year-old woman who wanted to date me? Why would that be problematic?
Strange.
Why? What's strange about it?
Because you are in different life experiences than she is. She is vastly...
Do you think 41-year-old women are going to be, like, let's say I wanted children. Don't you think I should date younger if I wanted to have a lot of children?
An 18-year-old to have children?
Well, you're going to be able to give me the most amount of children, right?
Because at the end of the day, the Whatever Podcast and Fresh and Fit and Andrew Wilson heavily rely on people going and combating them in the debate space. And if they have no one to argue with, no one's going to keep watching these people. Anyways, like I said, another podcast for another day.
Okay.
Yes.
It's easier because it's an olive jar, though.
Uh-oh. Come on, you can do it.
Put it right side up. Just
You can
so
do it.
doesn't
You
spill
got
on you.
this.
All right, bro. I can't do it. Here.
All right. I guess, yeah, Andrew, go ahead.
I'm supposed to open the pickle jar?
It's like a, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I do. This seems a little.
It's all fucking
It's just
slick
for-
now.
it's a little-
See, it little is.
I got to grip it.
Uh-oh, Andrew. If you can't open it either.
Well, your hand greased the whole top of it.
My hand or mine. Here, high five.
It
My
literally.
shoes are slow.
It's, Look, feel it. Isn't that greasy?
It was like that already. Oh my God.
No, it wasn't. You greased the top.
Use your
Oh my
shirt.
Jesus,
Use your
Andrew!
shirt,
If you can't open the olive jar, you cannot
Here,
blame my
while we're doing
hand.
olive jar.
If you're so strong, you should open it.
I gotta be able to grip it.
Okay, we'll grip it. Let's
It's
go.
literally slippery.
Back.
Grab me a paper towel so I can dry the top of it off.
Okay, once the top is dry, if you still
But do
can't
we
get it
now
out.
need to allow her another opportunity with the?
Yeah, give her the paper towel so that.
No, I think you should do it, Andrew. You're the big strong man. There you go. Come on.
Here, I'm gonna let some chats come
Ungreased.
through. We got some chats while they're working on that.
I'll let you go first if you want.
No, Andrew, I greased it all up. There you go.
What a fucking loser, bro.
I can't grip the fucker. Like, I gotta have a way to grip it.
Jungle.
Andrew, I'm sorry. It's not.
My fingers slip right off
Even
the
his boys making fun of him, bro.
My fingers are literally slipping off the lid. I just can't grip it.
Oh, you can't blame me for my greasy fingers
What a
now.
loser,
come on.
It's still greasy.
Philosophy book.
Here, go.
Yeah, just can't grip them.
Okay, now I want it to be.
I got
done. It's
this,
like pissing
Pisses me off.
Yeah, I know.
Should
it's
we
fine,
have
it's
Jake
fine.
try?
You'll get the same thing. Come in here, Jake. You think? Come on, you'll see for yourself. You can't get your fucking hand on it.
Oh, here comes a new
Try
guy
it.
to do it.
No,
And
you fucker.
boom.
That was bullshit.
Of
Bullshit.
course.
I
Andrew loosened
I
it.
just
He
want to
loosened
say for
it.
record.
We got a little olive juice.
Oh my God, girl.
So does he have your? Does he own your free will now? Because he could open it and you couldn't, based on Forrest's.
Well, he could at least grip it, I guess.
I think we can all agree. He's pathetic. He's a pathetic man. Okay? He's just so pathetic. Come on, bro. This is the man you take advice from. This is the man who's representing the patriarchy. So when Andrew Wilson puts himself in the story as the hero, the leader, this is your great and powerful leader.
My dad has spent his life helping people.
Well,
You've spent your life
Doing what?
proselytizing to the masses and
About
propping
what?
yourself up as a fucking leader. Essentially saying
I am a
women
leader.
are
Are you saying I'm not?
You are inconsequential.
Okay. And Chuck, what does that make you?
Inconsequential.
Okay.
But I'm not ashamed of it. And I
I'm
don't
not ashamed of it
aspire-
either.
I don't aspire to be consequential.
Chuck,
You do. You aspire.
Chuck, I didn't
you,
want
you
any.
have all these rules that you
Go ahead.
supposedly
We'll wait till you
follow,
gas
but
out.
at the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to be the leader. You want to be in charge. You do not have humility.
Oh.
Look, if I'm being honest, as a YouTuber who had a slight run-in with Andrew Wilson one time, he DM'd me. He was mad that I called him out for being a loser Christian. And not because he was a Christian, he was a loser, though that's a whole conversation to be had, but that he himself is a terrible representation of Christianity, or in some ways the best one if you think Christianity is inherently abusive, which I guess in that case would make him a great representation of it. The whole point of this video is to explore the idea that men are people and people are characters in stories, and we are living the story of our life. And he needs to make a decision along with all of these men who they're going to be in the story. And I think they are making a living explaining to young men who to be in the story, and they don't even know themselves. There was this one instance where Andrew Wilson was doing a panel with Fresh and Fit and a bunch of other losers, and this one main loser who so many people have made great content about what a loser he is, starts to attack Andrew Wilson for not being rich. And Andrew, for 1 second of one moment, was actually kind of the hero of the story, just in the, yeah, I'm not a douchebag with a Bugatti sense. He actually sat there and focused on his Christian values and said that it's not all about money. It's about my relationship with my family and what I do as a man to earn for that family. And he was made fun of.
It's okay to have materialism. It's not against Christian ethics to become rich, become wealthy. But I just think it's all beside the point, ultimately. You're trying to go for a single thing, and it's to achieve something greater
Do you have
than
money?
the person.
Does he have money?
No.
Do you have money?
No, I don't have.
How much
I
money
don't
do you
have.
have?
I don't
Does he
have money. But here's the thing. Why is money
much-
valuable?
Do you have money?
What is money valuable for?
I'm just asking. Do you have money?
I just said no. I'm broke. I'm a nobody.
No, but really, you are?
Yeah.
Is he really broke?
Yeah.
I just want to know. I have to know.
No, I'm
He's
not.
trolling.
I'm not one of these rich guys. I don't have a Bugatti. I don't have a Lambo. I don't have
I
a
just
Ferrari.
really have to know. Like, how much money you got?
Probably the $5 in my pocket. Not much more.
See, can anyone answer for the guy?
Why do they think I'm kidding? I have a family. I take care of an entire family. That takes a lot of money.
He's doing all right.
To be fair, technically only one of the men on the panel was making fun of him, and the rest were kind of like unsure of what to do. And it's just interesting to see in that moment all of these big and strong men not be able to stand up for what's honest and true and ethical. The audience is men, the panel is men. And it was a man-on-man crime situation, really. But for just a second, the internet thought, oh, maybe Andrew Wilson's a pretty okay guy. But of course, then we see him in a different light on different podcasts, and we realize, no. He belongs with all of these men. At the end of the day, the infighting happening with all of these men isn't going to change the fact that they all belong together.
Now, if you want to go and support Democrat Harris, you're welcome to do so. But if you think that she's going to be superior to Donald Trump, you're crazy.
As long as you are supporting Trump and supporting these conservative values at the expense of men, LGBTQIA people, and everybody else, it just feels like you belong together. So whether or not you're upset at being compared to Trump or Epstein, the truth is like you voted for Trump, and Trump's a rapist. Like, he's found liable for sexual assault. And so the question is, maybe you didn't do it yourself, but the fact that you would vote and support these people is kind of the issue at hand. Now, I understand, as somebody who understands politics enough to know that you can't really vote for a good person. It's really hard to be a good person in general. I still think there should be a line in the sand about voting for somebody like Trump. And so for Andrew Wilson to sit here and play some sort of faux Christian character feels weird. But then again, Jesus, in the compassionate way that most of the world thinks of him, isn't really what a modern day Christian is about, is it? Andrew is a perfect Christian in the story. It's just not the kind that would follow Jesus. Or maybe it is, because at the end of the day, was a grown man walking around earth collecting men to be his 12 apostles and claiming to be God doing.
I thought if I bore all the hate, everyone else could be free. But all I did was destroy. I knew it was wrong, and I did it anyway. I tried to play God.
Aaron, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world, yet lose his soul?
That's the problem with these conversations. We're dealing with people who live in completely different realities, and then we're like, hey, are you a good guy or a bad guy? Well, it depends on how you read and understand the story.
What did I even do wrong from my Christian worldview, Chuck, by being a stepfather and a good father to kids who needed one, Chuck? Can you tell me?
That's not what I was referring to.
No, it was what you were referring
because
to.
Being a stepfather
is
Christ-like.
What you were trying to do.
But Christian nationalists are not Christ-like. You are
Chuck,
not Christ-like.
what am I saying? What am I doing? What am I doing except taking care of people?
What you're doing is you are espousing to be a good Christian man, but what you do with your life is you don't help others. You sit around smoking cigarettes.
I thought I did. I thought you just commended me for helping others. Didn't I help children who weren't even mine, Chuck?
I do think it's funny how Andrew brags about taking in kids that weren't his own. I prefer a stepfamily or stepfather that thinks that the kids he takes as his own do become his own. But it sounds almost like he still separates them or thinks of them as someone else's kids, which I'm sure his children will figure out in therapy, as we all need therapy and deserve therapy. The thing that I think is interesting when it comes to being a leader, who is following him? I have a feeling I know exactly, generally speaking, the group of boys that are more likely to watch Andrew Wilson than somebody else.
Katie Grass says she was visiting with her younger cousin when two people walked by and called her a derogatory name, apparently referring to her sexual orientation.
What is that?
You're a fucking dyke.
These men just assaulted my friend.
Two men wearing white shirts or swinging at a man who was trying to stick up for the group of women he was with. The group of women, lesbians, and a transgender person.
You stupid bitch. Shut your fucking mouth, dyke.
Go back to your fucking country, you stinky ass idiot!
The mother in this video, she and her son were brutally attacked by a group of kids.
I just wonder how Andrew Wilson, as a father, does collaborations with some of the worst men on the internet. And I just wonder, are they good role models for his kids?
What is true is you're not allowed to wear women's clothing. That is what is true. And
what about
are there men right now who wear women's clothing?
Don't say it. Yeah.
And what would a black man call that man who wears women's clothing?
We know. We know.
Come on, tell me. No, come on, tell me.
And I guess they must be because he works with them. But like the clips I showed you at the beginning of this podcast of those men bragging about raping women, they say it casually because they think it is. They're willing to say it without fear because who's going to hold them accountable? And I do think these boys are sort of the trickle-down result of Andrew Wilson's content. That even though Andrew Wilson wouldn't technically advocate for rape, though he certainly has made some questionable arguments around rape.
You could make the case that, like, rape is bad for certain people.
No.
For certain people.
No, it's bad for everyone.
No, it's only bad for certain people. Here, like, there's women, you agree, who have orgasmed during essay.
That has nothing to do with whether it's essay.
Bro.
That has nothing to do with whether it's essay. Are you kidding me?
Bro, I didn't say whether or not it's essay. I said during essay.
Yes, what you just heard is what you just heard. It's going to get worse. And as it gets worse, I want to thread in video footage from South Africa this week. Over on my stream channel specifically, we participated in this last protest that just happened out of South Africa. Women for Change is a nonprofit, and they wanted to bring attention to gender-based violence because the G20 summit just happened in South Africa. And people really turned out. It really made a difference. And yes, the government responded. So don't let people tell you your voice doesn't matter. And let's pay attention to how it feels and what it means for us to watch two men comfortable in a room discuss the logic of rape and people's experience of it. Because I think, because I do philosophy on YouTube, I run into a lot of these debate bubbles in which I am excited and stoked to have really deep conversations about the world and always end up just getting stuck in rooms, which is why I left the debate sphere, with boys who are having conversations around these things in the most callous and ruthless way, which contributes, by the way, to groups of men talking so casually about raping women. Andrew Wilson might not see himself as a rapist or a rape apologist, but that's what he's doing, which is why his debate opponent, you'll see throughout this video, refuses to really engage in the topic, because the idea is, if you agree to Andrew's premise, then you basically contribute to rape culture by insinuating that some women are pleasured by their rape, and therefore maybe rape isn't always bad. And that's kind of the dilemma of this whole conversation, is that men are willing, at the expense of rape victims, to have conversations in which they get the W on their opponent, and it's just so deeply unethical, which is why, again, I say Andrew is the best of the worst, which isn't saying much. He might not be a direct predator, but he's friends with all the predators. He hangs out with all the misogynists. He is a misogynist, and he votes for predators. And so when we have this conversation and we're trying to really get down to the root of it, what I'm seeing here in the story, I see a man who lives more by legend than reality. A man who's pretending to be hard but isn't. A man who thinks of himself as good, but when push comes to shove, shows his true colors. I see a man who wishes he was greater but settles for what he has. And this is the trap of patriarchy. It raises men thinking you're entitled to something because you are a man. When you don't get it, you wonder why not you? Instead of being raised with an understanding that we are all just biological creatures on a planet experiencing existence, and we have no enemies, we simply exist. But there's obviously something he's chasing, I just don't know what it is. Probably the same thing all men are chasing under patriarchy, which is like a solid identity, something that relates to strength, who knows? Only Andrew knows what he's really thinking, right? He's obviously a misogynist and all these other things, but only Andrew knows why he does what he does. Okay, we can only guess. So just keep that in mind as I thread these clips through this conversation. It's going to be a hard watch. Honestly, I should just trigger warning my whole channel at this point, but we have to talk about these topics. I know it's hard, but thank you for sitting through it. I do appreciate it. If you want to learn about Women for Change, you want to just learn about South Africa and what just happened because of the protest, I'll go ahead and link that in the description. And I hope you have time to check that out.
Yeah. What does it have to do with anything?
Well, bro, if that's the case, right, then was it bad for them?
Yes.
Why?
Absolutely. Why? Because there are overriding harms than just orgasm. I'm not saying that's not the case. What?
Perfect. So then here's the case then. The case is like when you say for some people, right? The reason you keep saying that is because even though it's the vast overwhelming majority of people, you want to like create this little minutia outlier. Right? Is it logically possible that there's ever been a woman who's been essayed who'd enjoyed it?
Sees you with a knife or something, anything that is a weapon, she will stay still, she will never scream. He grabs the legs, I grab the hands, and then he deals with the clothes.
I am not going to.
Can you answer my question? No. Is it logically possible?
For 14 years, I truly believed that it was all my fault. I mean, why wouldn't I? He truly believed it. You see, the problem wasn't about him lying, cheating, disappearing for hours, even days, at least once a week. You see, the problem was actually my reaction to it. So when it switched from emotional to physical, it wasn't a far stretch that was my fault. too.
That's not. I'm not ascribing anything to that.
Do you think there's ever been a single woman who's been essayed and has enjoyed it?
Not going to answer the question.
I think people have this idea of this ideal victim and what they expect to happen, and it's a stranger that you've never met that you bump into, and then they attack you. And the scariest thing is often they're living in our homes, they're sleeping next to us, they're raising us, and I think that's so much scarier in many ways that you never know who you can fully trust.
Answer the question.
I'm not going to answer the question.
But because then I can't say some people.
I'm not going to answer whether women enjoy being great.
That's not what I asked you.
Whether a woman has enjoyed being great.
If there's ever been one. Do you think there's ever been one?
I was married for over 11 years to my husband, who ultimately held me down and poured chemicals into my eyes. And this is the result of that.
It's such a weird thing
What's
to get on
wrong with answering
about.
the question?
Because I'm not going to contribute to rhetoric that tries to say that there is anything good about SA.
Who said there's anything good about it?
More and more gender-based violence stories are making headlines in South Africa.
The killing of women and children.
They're protesting against gender-based violence in a country where government statistics say a woman is killed every 3 hours.
Sent shockwaves across the country.
News at 5. More than 60 women have been murdered in Gauteng in the past 2 months.
2,695 women were murdered in South Africa.
28-year-old Sehofatso Pule was found hanging.
You just said that some women orgasm, therefore that is a good of it.
No. I was running an internal critique and saying if it is the case of X, then Y. Mm-hmm. That's not me advocating for that position. Don't lie.
I think generally he would say he's against rape, but then we would of course get into a debate about what is rape. And I think the moment we start really questioning what is rape instead of rape is bad, how to stop it, I think what that does is create a system that targets little boys and raises them to hate women. And then they become men who feel entitled to their bodies. And then we get interviews like those 3 men bragging about raping women without any consideration for their feelings or the harm that they're causing. Oh, and don't worry, this man also has a queen.
But now we live in a world where the machines already exist to make other machines.
So you agree
that can
with
make
me?
tools.
He agrees
Hold
with
on
me.
1 second, please.
He just conceded that it was men who created technological advancements that even made it
Rachel,
possible to imagine that women could be
Rachel,
on par
that is
with
the
men.
point.
The woman who's brought up by Charlie, who has 3 baby daddies.
Your wife has 3 baby daddies and has been married twice before.
Oh, don't worry. She called in to confront Charlie herself.
It turns out that you are the hateful, selfish, awful one who's willing to lie about people, say things that aren't true when you don't know what the truth. You've just defamed multiple people in front of millions. You're willing to lie about people, and you don't care.
Not
There'll be millions who see this.
So it turns out that it is not Andrew.
Shows rarely go that viral.
This woman stands by her man. This is her man. And honestly, girl, you can have him. They seem very compatible. Both grown adults with multiple children who spend their time arguing with 20-year-olds on the internet.
It's not all about women.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about helping women,
We're not just talking about helping women, though. I think helping
you're
men is
interested
helping.
in helping men.
I think helping
turn
men
away from
hang
normal,
on.
healthy partners.
Normal, healthy
Their body
partners.
count is too high, or they've done. I don't know.
Okay, how does what you said about me prove your point? Like, again, did somebody tell you that Andrew hates on single moms and shits on them, and so you thought that because he's married to me and I had kids before I married him that he's a bad Christian? I don't understand where you're coming from with this. What did he do wrong, and what did I do wrong?
Something I want you to pay attention to is the language she uses to combat Charlie. Andrew and his wife both go for people's intelligence, their IQ. They use the word IQ a lot. The other thing they try to hold over people's heads is body count. So just to remind you, Andrew's whole platform is that feminism stupid, woke stupid, left stupid. And all Charlie's saying is that it could seem weird and hypocritical to end up with a woman who had 2 previous partnerships and kids from each partnership and then married Andrew and had kids with him. Now, of course, in Charlie's worldview, this is not a problem. But in Andrew's worldview, technically it is. He wouldn't recommend his kids technically go for a woman like Rachel, and yet he married the woman like Rachel, which is pretty typical of the red pill space. So many of these men date exactly the same women they tell other men not to date. So it's just a little silly, I think, the red pill manosphere bubble. I just think they're really reductive and not serious at all about having real conversations or proposing real solutions.
So the basis of Andrew's platform is essentially to make women look stupid and humiliate them. And I don't.
You're doing a perfectly good job of that all by yourself. He doesn't even need to help. But go on.
To mock them, make them look stupid, clip farm, and then gain money and notoriety this way. He doesn't engage in real thoughtful debate. I've seen people walk off from debating him because
we got to do one thing at a time. One thing at a time. You can't just shotgun 500 things. So, did you not have agency? Did you not have agency when you accepted this debate with Andrew?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Then what did he do wrong? Do you want him to treat you like, because you're a feminist, so do you want him to only debate men? Because if he did that, you'd say, well, he's a misogynist. He won't even debate women because he doesn't take them seriously enough or whatever. You guys make yourself look stupid.
And I would just like to point out that Rachel did say she was in an abusive relationship in the past, and I'm really sorry to hear that. She does express that the past partner did beat up on her. And given the context of this video and everything we've talked about, I just think it goes without saying that that is devastating, and I'm devastated for her, and no one should have to go through that.
It would be wrong if I had been sleeping with lots of people, if I had been carelessly getting pregnant with random people. That's not the case. I've spent my entire adult life only in 3 long-term committed relationships, one of which is a, almost 20-year relationship with Andrew now. We're like 18 years in. I've been married since 2012. Prior to that, I was married for 4 years, as Andrew had to unfortunately explain. That ended not even because I left, but because he beat the crap out of me and was being pursued by the law and left the state, and so it was like abandonment. The first one was my high school boyfriend, who I knew my whole life, who I was with for 5 years. We had 2 children. He had his own personal problems, and that did not work out.
So at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, Britt, it's 2 a.m. your time. You got to get this podcast up. Let's just wrap it up. We hate Rachel, and she deserves everything that happened to her. No one deserves violence. No one deserves this. And I know that you're thinking she's a conservative and she's bigoted, and who cares about her feelings? We have to care about her feelings. Compassion means to suffer with, and so we will suffer with Rachel. I'm so sorry she was hurt in the past, and I'm sorry she's been a victim of domestic abuse. I understand your feelings of wanting to neglect people who are neglectful to you, but the truth is that most of the women who will experience intimate partner violence are probably leaning more conservative. The world is still pretty conservative, and domestic abuse is a global crisis. So at the end of the day, not that progressive or liberal identified people can't commit domestic abuse. It's just that conservatives usually feel entitled and or justify it through doctrine, patriarchal religion, and belief systems. So if a person truly is progressive and embodies real progressive philosophy, sure, they wouldn't hit their partner. But also people who identify as progressives, well, they might just hit their partners, because identifying with something doesn't matter. What matters is what you do in the moment. And if in that moment your label all of a sudden becomes powerless and you put a hand on someone, what good was the label? So I'm sorry that Rachel experienced that type of pain, and I'm glad she's out of that relationship. And I'm glad she's in a relationship where she seems much happier. I wish Andrew and Rachel were able to introspect and extrospect enough and deconstruct enough to allow other people around the world to find their joy in a different way than they found theirs. Because reminder that in Charlie's universe and in my universe, their relationship kind of still gets to exist. I mean, I'm not excited about the patriarchal religious aspect of it. They're adults, and if they're happy, then I hope they're joyful. But in their ideal universe, my relationship doesn't exist. My life doesn't exist. So just a reminder that one side of the bubble wants freedom and the other side wants control. And to no one's surprise, the patriarchal one wants the control. As we close up this conversation, I know we've been talking about men, and I've been using a lot of examples that will probably get you pretty angry at this category of person we call man. I would also remind you that we are a progressive channel. I do run a progressive podcast, and we always want to deconstruct gender and remind ourselves that this thing that our consciousness is in doesn't represent the depth of who we are as people. And with that said, even though I think gender is a construct, I think a lot of people in the world identify as men and exist as men, and they are allowed to feel joy in that identity. And I really believe that little boys who are gonna be men deserve happiness and joy in that identity.
Quarter zip, guys. We don't do none of that artificially flavored stuff. We do quarter zips and we drink matchas.
Them shit's like $10 a piece. Yo, parents.
Financially stable? It's only six $6.70. Not too bad.
That's what they spending y'all money on, yo.
Yes, the brotherhood.
Quarter zip, guys.
Black Lives Matter.
And so I want to end this podcast with a reminder that we need good male role models and we need men who are in their joy.
When the topic of gender-based violence comes up, many men distance themselves. We say things like, well, not all men are like that. And while that might be factually true, it's emotionally tone deaf, because saying not all men is still in a way saying, don't look at me. But maybe we need to be looked at. Husbands who tune into this podcast, myself included, we need to be looked at. Maybe the question isn't, am I one of them? But maybe the question is, what am I doing to stop them? I think being a good man is not being passive. It's not enough for us to say, I don't hurt women. It's not enough for me to sit here and look at these cameras and speak into these microphones and say, I do not hurt my wife. But the call for manhood is bigger than that. But it's actively creating safety. When men go quiet, violence thrives. When men go silent, abusers feel validated, even protected. And some of these abusers, some of these perpetrators are friends. They are brothers. They are colleagues. They're guys that we kick the soccer ball around or even go shoot beers with over the weekend. When men go quiet, women are left to fight battles they did not start.
And we need men to take this issue seriously because intimate partner violence, domestic abuse is a man's issue. Femicide is up globally and it's at the hands of men. Women are dying at the hands of men. And women can't just be the ones to do it. It has to be a joint effort. So what's our conclusion about Andrew Wilson? Obviously, he has not aged into his wisdom.
You stupid bitch.
He doesn't have the discernment. And right now he's too busy debating 20-year-olds and making, excuses illogically for why rape might feel good sometimes to people. It's like, it's so stupid. But this is what is wrong with the world. Like Andrew Wilson is what's wrong with the world. It's what's wrong with men. So when you watch my channel, you watch any of our channels and we say like, fuck men, this is what we mean. And if you in any way don't understand that at this point, you are purposely not paying attention. Andrew Wilson might have good intentions, but the road to hell is paved in those good intentions. And we are certainly in hell. So he needs to get his shit together. And more than that, we need to get our shit together as a community and stop engaging with these bad faith men who want to use your face and your body and your voice to contribute to rape culture and other bad narratives about minorities. Anyways, I would like to hear your opinions. Of course, I know it was a heavy one and I appreciate you being here. So I guess as we close up and get to the end of things, just a reminder that little boys deserve healthy role models and deserve to look forward to a future where they get to be happy men. And it doesn't have to come at the expense of other people.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Let's go.
Matt, good to meet you.
Right, nice to meet you too, man. Yeah.
So my son over there, he only likes energy cards.
Yeah.
So we're not going to find what he wants at the show, so I brought it with me. I just wanted to see if you could put him in your case and let him walk up and actually do a deal with you or something like that.
Okay, sure.
You know what I mean?
It's free. Like, you want it, you can have it.
You want that one?
Yeah.
What's this one? You like this one too?
Yeah.
Tell him thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Of course, man. Please enjoy.
Yeah.
Let's go. Of course, man.
Give him a handshake.
Take it. Yeah. Chill.